Shalom, giving all honor, all praise, and all glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Arechak, Wadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and bishops of the great millstone that rule well. And peace, blessings, and salutations to the tabernacle of David, the hopeful elect, scattered throughout the four winds of the heavens. And it's a reason why they have a lot of congressional hearings about this phenomenon, where they keep, capturing encounters with the chariots. And of course, they can't be truthful, and they'll throw a little bit of fiction in there, just to, throw people's imaginations off. They'll throw the term alien out there and have people thinking about, little green men, men, they'll think of, movies like Men in Black, so on and so forth. But those that are read in the scriptures, you studied in the Bible, you know what these objects actually are, and what their purpose is and what they mean. And it's starting to become like a casual thing where people, they notice, these vehicles in the sky, and they'll just simply record it. They'll ask themselves, what is it? Trying to, figure it out. And it's just one of those wonders, which the Lord did tell us, when you see these things, look up, for your salvation draweth nigh. And then, the chariots are known as the chariots of salvation. They're also known as the chariots of Israel. They're going to be the vehicles that's going to not only be the instruments of, deliverance for the elect of Israel, but they're also going to usher in the destruction, of this current world, all right, which is ruled by the Edomites. Esau's the end of the world, and Jacob's the beginning that follows. So, they're going to have a pivotal role in bringing down this man's system, this whole empire. So anyway, this had been reported. All right. Pilot reports a UFO just flying by his plane. Okay. And automatically I thought the scripture in Zechariah, the 5th chapter, where the prophets look up and, he asks, what does thou seest? And he says, I see a flying roll. All right. So this pilot, he doesn't understand what he saw. But, the Bible identifies what they are. So let me play this audio.
Shuttle 684 for left heading 310. 310, Shuttle 684. It's a strange small object that we just flew by, a small silver canister. Do you know what that could be? 49er Kilo, we've had no reports in that area. What altitude and direction is it heading? It appears to be standing still. I'm at 3,500 feet. It was right off our wingtip. Small silver canister. Roger, thanks. Do you think it's a drone or is it like a balloon type? I saw nothing attached to it. It was sort of hovering there. It was astonishing. I don't know what it was. Creepy.
He said it's astonishing. He's astonished, at what he's seen. This is something that you usually don't see, up there. You'll normally find other aircraft, whether it's a drone, whether, it's a commercial plane, or even them damn planes that they use to, fly that damn chemtrails over us, that far up in the sky. But he said this particular thing is like a silver canister and it's just hovering, So, he's amazed at, what he's seeing. As a matter of fact, let me get Jeremiah. And this is the article, by the way. This is from Fox News. Let's go to Jeremiah 10. It is Jeremiah 10:2. It says, "Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them." And the word dismayed is the Hebrew word is chathath, and it says to be shattered, be dismayed, be broken, be abolished, be afraid. All right. It says to be broken, especially to be broken down with fear, to be confounded. All right. And, a lot of people that have these encounters, that's exactly what they experience. They feel terrified. They're amazed, astonished, awestruck, because they don't know what to think. All right, because this is not something that's usual. These are not usual encounters. So you can hear it in this pilot's voice. He's trying to figure this out. We bring it back.
Could be. 49er Kilo, we've had no reports in that area. What altitude and directions to heading? It appears to be standing still. I'm at 3,500 feet. It was right off our wingtip.
See, and that's another thing. This is how you know it's not an ordinary object, because, like I mentioned, you normally will see things like, planes, fighter jets, commercial planes, even helicopters. But this thing is just sitting still up there in 3,500 feet up. And hey, when we be at camp, one of the brothers out to be at camp holding posts or whatever, and they'll happen to look up, and then next thing you know, like the brother, he'll look up, and he'll turn his head, and he'll look up again, and then that brothers, everybody's paying attention, to each other's, so you see a brother looking up, multiple times, it's gonna cause you to look up. You're gonna be like, okay, what the brother looking at? What does he see up there? Brother see a chariot, and before you know it, the brother's pointing up. Look, you see a chariot, and the chariot is just sitting up there. It's not the chariot is not moving across the sky. Sometimes you think like that might be a plane, or sometimes you might even think it's a balloon way up there. But no, the balloon is being moved by the wind. It ain't gonna just be sitting up there in place, just standing, sitting still, in the heavens. So we'll look up and we'll see that, and before you know it, it'll maybe move a little bit, and then it'll just sit there. Like, yeah, that's clearly a chariot. So that's they're identifying this object that is not moving. It just waiting right beside the plane.
Small silver canister. Roger, thanks. Do you think it's a drone, or is it like a balloon type? I saw nothing attached to it. It was sort of hovering there. It was astonishing. I don't know what it was. Creepy. I want to believe. Chronos 402, contact approach on 125.75. 25.75, Chronos 402. Good luck with the aliens.
This guy said, good luck with the aliens. So, you're going to have some people, especially if they don't see it, they're going to scoff. That I take that as a scoff, because he's not there to witness what that pilot, just witnessed, you know. So, and a lot of people are going to have that attitude. If they ain't never seen something, you know, or it sounds, you know, very foreign to them, you know, they're gonna find it absurd or something to mock, right? But that could be masked behind fear, because you know you don't want to believe that there's something that exists out there that is beyond your imagination, that's beyond, you know, anything that you can figure out. So I'm gonna let this finish out, and then we'll get to the scriptures. But you know, this is gonna be a continual phenomenon until the Lord shows up. You know, when we hear these things, you know, it amps up our faith. You know, knowing that you know, that day is drawing nigh. Okay, you know, the Lord has a purpose, you know, to keep these things going.
84 Vision approach on 823 complex tower. Surface Vision 23 over tower 6342. Yeah. 503 Star Papa, I'll set the drill correction traffic. You're following 6 mile left base up here at E175, go showing turbulence. Following the E175, keep looking for the traffic, 503 Star Papa.
All right, so you know, that's pretty much that. So they showed you, you know, the audio. Okay. So let's go to the scripture, and let me get this one scripture. You know, because what these things represent, one, they represent the eyes of the Lord. All right, and they're, you know, to and fro in the earth. There's 2 Chronicles 16 verse 9, and it says, "For the eyes of the Lord run to and fro throughout the whole earth, to shew himself strong in behalf of them whose heart is perfect towards him." Okay. So, you know, these are the eyes of the Lord, you know, which that these are angels, his messengers, you know, who you know, hover around in the earth, and then they go and, you know, report back to the Lord. All right. And, you know, they'll come down and they'll show themselves, you know, just to strengthen, you know, the Lord's believers. Like that encounter when you had Elijah. Let me do this. Yeah, this is 2 Kings 6. Yeah, and this is the encounter with Elisha, right? You heard about the king of Assyria getting ready to come down. This is 2 Kings 6 and starting at 11. It says, "Therefore the heart of the king of Syria was sore troubled for this thing, and he called his servants and said unto them, Will you not shew me which of us is for the king of Israel? And one of his servants said, None, my lord, O king, but Elisha the prophet that is in Israel telleth the king of Israel the words that thou speakest in thy bedchamber. And he said, Go and spy where he is, that I may send and fetch him. And it was told him, saying, Behold, he is in Dothan. Therefore sent he tether horses and chariots and a great horse. And they came by night and compassed the city about. And when the servant of the man of God was risen early and gone forth, behold, an host compassed the city, both with horses and chariots. So they had the city surrounded. And his servant said unto him, Alas, my master, how shall we do? And he answered, Fear not, for they that be with us are more than they that be with them. And Elisha prayed and said, Lord, I pray thee, open his eyes that he may see. In other words, open his third eye. You know, open up that pineal gland so you can really see. All right. Because sometimes, you know, they can appear invisible, you know, where you wouldn't even know that there's anything up there. And then the Lord can open up your spirit and you can see, further. All right. See things that are in spirit. And the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire round about Elisha. See that? So that type of occurrence, that type of phenomenon, going back to what I just read in Second Chronicles, these are the eyes of the Lord that go to and fro. They show themselves on behalf of let me read it again, verse 9. It says, "For the eyes of the Lord run to and fro throughout the whole earth to shew himself strong in the behalf of them whose heart is perfect toward him. Herein thou hast done foolishly, therefore from henceforth thou shalt have wars." All right. And we was having wars at the time. All right. But, we was getting ready we was being threatened with an army that was surrounding us. And Elisha told his men, "Hey, don't panic. There's more of us than that are with them." And then he prayed that the Lord opened up their third eye, and they saw all them chariots around. All right. So let me get Zechariah. That pilot said, what is this? He asked that question. Let me go back.
It's a strange small object that we just flew by, a small silver canister. Do you know what that could be?
You're saying, do you know what that could be? It's Zechariah 5:1. It says, "Then I turned and lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, a flying roll." Ezekiel, when he identified it, he described it as a will within a will, right? So, there's different ways that the prophets described what they saw, but they were all basically chariots, okay? It says, "And he said unto me, what seest thou?" Right? What seest thou? Like what this pilot just asked.
310, show 6084. It's a strange small object that we just flew by, a small silver canister. Do you know what that could be?
Do you know what that could be? In other words, what seest thou, right? And I answered, I see a flying roll. All right. They described it as a silver canister. All right. He said, I see a flying roll. The length thereof is 20 cubits and the breadth thereof 10 cubits. All right. Now he saw it was a chariot that appeared, but he described it as a flying roll. And, we know the roll is identified with being like a scroll, like what we wrote on for the word of the Most High. We would write it on a scroll. All right. Basically the scriptures. Okay. Because, it's representative. All right. We know that the word, which when we lay down the word, it contains the law, it contains the prophets, it contains the statutes, the law, the prophets, the different judgments. And I take it as, because the eyes of the Lord are in every place, beholding the good and the evil, so the angels, they see everything. All this wickedness that's being done on the earth, they see it. And that's why when Yahushua shows up in the cloud, which is also the chariot, it says that the books will be open. All right. And that's when the judgment is going to take place. So basically this world is going to come under judgment. All right. It's going to come under major judgment. And the Lord and the angels, which are going to be in these chariots, they're going to play a vital role. When you read about the judgments, upon the beast, the horde, Babylon, it talks about how Yahushua and the angels would basically be there. Like when you read Revelation 14, it says about those who's going to they're going to be destroyed in the lake of fire. And it says that they have no rest day nor night, but they're going to be burning in that flame in the presence of the angels and of the Lamb. So they're going to be right there. And those that get delivered and saved, they're going to get to watch it from up above. That's in Psalms, the 91st chapter. So continuing on, it says, then said he unto me, this is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth. All right? Because it's to and fro. And everybody's going to be brought under judgment, especially in the day of the Lord. All right? You're going to be judged based on what you've done in your body, whether good or bad. But it's all going to be based on what was written in the books, which is the book of the law, man. It says, this is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth. For everyone that stilleth shall be cut off, as on this side according to it. And of course, there's according to the scroll, according to what's contained in the law, there's a judgment for men who steal, especially when you steal people. All right, he that stealeth a man, and if he be found in your hand, shall be put to death. And it's been a lot of trafficking of children over here. The little hat people, their regime, their higher ups, they're all involved with that whole Epstein thing. Trafficking, kidnapping is sick. But we can't forget about what happened, when Esau came over here to the Americas and stole the people and brought them over to the other side of the world. And then maybe a little over a century later, he comes over to the west coast of Africa, and then he's stealing for people and then bring them over here to the Americas. So, for everyone that stealeth shall be cut off as on the side according to it, and everyone that sweareth shall be cut off as on that side according to it. I will bring it forth, saith the Lord of hosts, and it shall enter into the house of the thief. And Esau is the biggest thief on earth. All the nations are coming to that conclusion. Now all of a sudden you trying to take down Venezuela, because you want what doesn't belong to you. You want to him that was that Habakkuk, the second chapter. This taunting proverb, woe unto him that increases that which is not his. Yeah, you a thief. It says, and into the house of him that swear falsely by my name. They swear in the court system. When they do their inauguration, they put their hand on the Bible and get sworn into office and don't carry out anything the Bible tells you to. You don't govern your country, by what's contained in the scriptures. And it shall remain in the midst of his house, and shall consume it with the timber thereof and the stones thereof. All right. So these vehicles, they're coming to do damage, and you could read that in Habakkuk, the third chapter. All right. You can read. It's many different scriptures. All right, of what they're going to come to do. Let me get Psalm 68 and verse 17, and it says, the chariots of the Most High are 20,000, even thousands of angels. The Lord is among them, as in Sinai in the holy place. All right. And they're going to come and they're going to, deliver us. Okay. We're going to be delivered into those chariots. When we read, it was at Matthew the 24th chapter, how he's going to gather his elect from the four corners of the earth. Matthew 24:30 says, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory, and he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. And this also dispels, the Gentile salvation narrative that heathens are going to be delivered. No, this is talking about the elect, which are going to be of the nation of Israel. Israel is the elect, but you have an elect within the elect. They're going to be returned and delivered. All right. So let's go from there. Let's get Psalm 104 and verse 2. It says, who covers thyself with light as with a garment, who stretcheth out the heavens like a curtain, who layeth the beams of his chambers in the waters, who maketh the clouds his chariot. He says, who layeth the beams of his chambers in the waters. It made me think of Isaiah 26, where it says, come thou enter into thy chambers and shut thy door about thee until the indignation of the Lord be overpassed. Basically when he says, come up hither, come down, enter into thy chambers. Okay. And he says, who layeth the beams of his chambers in the waters. That's the heavens. All right. And they're going to come back and they're going to defy the laws of physics. All right. The angels can move at angles that no aircraft made by hands can do. Okay. And they can disappear, reappear, shapeshift, because they're basically they have the ability to manipulate the elements. That's why they can go underwater. That's why they can fly into the sun. They could do it all because they're celestial. It says, who maketh the clouds his chariot, who walketh upon the wings of the wind, who maketh his angels spirits and his ministers a flaming fire. Right? So that's pretty much it, And they keep having these reports. They keep talking about these things in these congressional hearings. Hey man, we getting close. All right, there's no time for faint hands and feeble knees. All right, we're witnessing the power of our Lord, and that that time is drawing nigh. We're not alone. Esau, he thinks he's gonna swoop down with his wrath, because he got everything sold up. He got his technology, he got his robots, he got his military weapons, his drones. He got all that ready, so that he can bully the earth into his new world order. But the angels is up there. All right. And they're more powerful than anything you can imagine. Okay. Because the Lord, they operate for the King of the universe, showing you that even the weakness of the Most High is stronger than men. So I'm going to end on that note. And this is the article, by the way. Pilot reports UFO hovering beside jet, leaving air traffic control stunned. And then, of course, the little scoff, good luck with the aliens. It ain't going to be whoever, that proud Edomite that said that, when on that day, when the day of the Lord shows up, he ain't going to be making these type of remarks. All right. He's going to shit his guts out. All right. That heart fell in them for fear. You're going to be terrified. All right. As soon as you hear that trumpet and then the Lord appearing, all these people are going to be shooken up, terrified. So anyway, I'm going to end off on that note. Call Lord Yahweh Shai. Until the next one, I say, Shalom.